Good afternoon. Good evening, everyone. We got Will again here today. I don't have any pre-submitted questions, so if you guys have questions, please, you can type them out in QA or chat, or just use raise hand and I'll unmute you. You can ask them and I'll try my best to answer them for you. Okay, what you got, Murray?
Hello.
Hey,
I have a question about a filter on a report.
sure.
So what I'm looking to do is I have a data structure that has, let's say, accounts tied to a person. So I have account 1, account 2, account 3, account 4, and they all belong to Will Pedersen. And I would like to create a report for a page that pulls from that data structure, but only pulls Will's accounts. I know how to set a filter. What I don't remember is how to feed the report the filter.
You know how to filter, you don't know how to feed the report the filter?
Well, what I'm saying is, like, when you go into the report, you can do filter by, and then select the field, like account owner in this case. And then I can say runtime select. But how am I to
get
what
current
step am I
user.
missing to get current user? Yes, or whatever my thing is. How am I getting that information in there?
I see. Is it, is there's a bit of an echo coming from your audio, I think, right? But is it current user is like a property on the account or the object?
It is. Actually, I'm using case. So they belong to a case. So I took the case ID and I copied it down to the account level. So they will all have this in, I use the default. So C1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I want to know how to feed C1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into the report.
Into the report. And what does that come, what is the, okay.
So I know you like to use like user accounts as your data source. So if you use the accounts object in, and then let's say I wanted to feed it created by.
So here, like, so there's a few things. There's a relatively new, I mean, this isn't new. We've had it for say 6 months. It's probably been 18 months, but there is these things called SQL-based filters. And on this, you can say for current folder or current user. What this lets you do is you click this and it prompts you with a field to evaluate. And so here I could say, I could use our example and I could say created by, and then I could either check all the primary email address, the user ID, or the account ID to figure out who that particular property is.
I'm actually doing something different, but I mean, I'm not using an account. I'm using a case identifier, but that's kind of what I want to do is say on the field created by, I would only like to see admin at decisions. So the other 4 would disappear.
But you have like, but
it's with, I know I can filter on.
It's like with a case prefix specifically.
Yes, I'm not using an account or something that exists system-wide that's going to be, I'm not using current user, so I can't use that as my filter. I need something typed in as part of the case to be the filter.
I mean, one thing you might see is the team would use like get page variables for this, and they would insert like, do we have a doc about page variables? Yeah, get page variable here. And this is an example of them putting it in a report. Yeah, putting it in a report. Yeah, so here, I think this example is probably what you want to look at. The question is just where do you get the page variable? What happens
Okay.
is you can append custom parameters to the URL, and then your report, like if I added a created by filter, you can have um, say created by equals. You can change this to get values from other reports, um, or um, or maybe it's just runtime editable. And if this matches the custom URL parameter, then it will filter based on that. And this document shows you how to use the get page variable step to pull those custom parameters out of the URL.
I think that's going to get me close to what I need. Thank you.
Yeah, and then you might just have like an action, like using like an inform session. There's a step called inform session, and that can allow you to append URLs, to append custom properties to your URL. So you could have like say on an account, you could say like right click and say view all similar accounts or whatever, right? And then that would run an inform session flow that could then redirect you to a dashboard with a custom URL parameter appended, and then all the reports can filter off of all the reports on that page can filter off of that custom URL parameter. Something like that is probably what you want to explore.
Thank
you. Okay, yeah, you bet.
All right.
All right, Chris, you had your hand up. You put your hand down. I'm going to unmute you in case you still have a question. Otherwise, I'll move on to Annie's question.
Okay, yeah, I got a couple questions about database structures with user actions enabled and process folder.
Sure.
So I ran into an issue where once a flow, now I'm wondering, now I'm not seeing it, and I'm wondering why I'm not seeing it, but when a flow goes async, not being able to update either and or the state on the process folder or the comment on the process folder. And so then I was investigating some workarounds, but is that a thing? And I mean, I know there's documentation on using an internal services step to update to add a comment to a process folder.
Sure.
Is the same thing apply to state?
Yeah, if you're using those like magic steps in flow management,
yeah,
then yes. Likely what you want to do. So if you're running a flow async at some point, right?
Yeah, at some point it goes async.
Yeah, so you've probably been you want to probably find set entity state. And what you want to do is on your flow, pass in like your process folder ID, of what gets returned from your setup process folder step.
Yeah. I didn't.
This step
just didn't
will
see
update
that
the
step.
state. Yeah, this step will update the state of the entity whose ID you pass it here. So pass the ID into your subflow. Probably because the search is not always great. We're working on that right now, believe it or not.
Yeah, no, I believe it. Awesome. Okay. And then if I want to add a comment, then I got to set internal services step, and it works basically the same.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that one is arguably dumber. Yeah, add comment. So, and this is one of those steps where it does. No, I know, but like this is like a magic step, right? It infers the folder ID automatically. Yeah. So you're right. So you'd go to integration comment service, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Add comment to folder or something like that. I can't read.
Yeah,
there's comment.
Maybe in there.
Add comment, right? Probably. Yeah, comment and then the folder ID here.
Hey, a quick question about searching, by the way. Like if you click on one of those done tails there, does that search internal services if I search that
Nothing.
way?
No, nothing searches internal services as far as I'm aware.
Throw it in there real quick. Add comment.
Let's see here. Let's do add quick comment. Yeah. Internal services are excluded from search.
Okay. So here's my other question. I've created some user actions. I want them to only appear for certain states. But when I I go into set classification info or whatever it is,
Okay.
and it doesn't seem to be filtering down for me. I'm still seeing both
What type of data structure?
database
Oh,
with user actions enabled.
that's not supposed to even exist.
Database with enable actions isn't supposed to exist, or
No, that should work. One sec, let me get into a state so we can look at this together. The permissions piece, I bet, is not supposed to work.
you gotta, yeah. So another hard thing I learned is,
But that's okay. You can do what you want. I just don't think you can use that. So let's refresh here.
and the reason I'm doing it this way is I'm just trying to keep it as lightweight as possible and not use the heavier data structures.
All right, so here's a user action, right?
Yeah.
User action flow 1, and you're using properties and you're trying to say valid only in state.
Ooh, that's not where I'm doing it.
But I don't think this would work. I don't think I think this should be filtered for a database structure, because a database structure isn't an entity. It doesn't have state. I thought this is what you were asking. Where are you doing it
Oh,
at?
interesting. Oh, interesting. So, okay.
Where are you doing it
on the database. I am doing it on the database structure.
What you're going to do is just write a normal action visibility rule, right? So if I come to my data type, you've created a custom property called state on this thing, right? So
well, no, I have created a custom property called state because I was trying to do it as a workaround and not being able to set the entity state, but it may be that I need both. So let's keep going.
In this example, this isn't a state. This isn't a decisions managed state. It's just a property called state.
Yeah. No, I got you.
Right. Yeah. And so if I come in here and I create a user action, sorry, let's assume I'm going to hide this action. So I'm going to put an action visibility rule in place.
Visibility rule. And
then in here, what I'm going to do is say if action, name equals blah, 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 right? I'm not going to make a real rule here. And then not action, and then entity, because it's on my data to entity state, and I'll say like in list. And then I can put and this will look at that property and filter those actions for you. Gotcha. Hey, Will, can we please get a DT in? I don't think that, or maybe we post in DT Express. I do not believe that I actually think if I look at that user action flow, I don't think these or this should work at all for simple data structure.
Okay, so if you go out of there.
You're using the right-click action?
Yeah, so that's the same as setting classification info. Okay.
Same thing.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, so that's just a distractor.
Yeah, it's
a non-functional distractor.
It's an example of us using the same pattern and not like filtering out. I mean, I might be wrong, but I think anything below.
I think you're right because it's not working.
Yeah, I bet they work for entities. I bet they. Yeah. In fact, yeah, no, it'll work for an entity. Both of these probably are entity only.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Here's another more abstract question. Nothing I'm trying to do, but I'm curious. Is there a way, like, let's say I want to, it's been a little while since I've done an external database connection, but if I do an external database connection, I get CRUD steps for that.
Sure.
Now, can I use that? I think it's essentially a complex data structure. Can I put that into a database structure so that I can get features like user actions or?
The concept you're looking for here is external entity.
Maybe, yeah.
Like you have data in an external database, right? Yeah. And you want to put actions on that thing?
Yeah.
What you do is come find an external entity somewhere. I scroll past it.
Right there.
Oh God, right there. Yeah. So I'll just put one property on this thing.
Yeah.
And this is like a special type of configuration folder. So if I look at this thing, it's going to give me a bunch of pre-built flows here. So I tell it what my ID is. I tell it how to fetch a single one, how to fetch all of them. I can basically I could set just these two if I want, but I plumb all the things together. Then I can build a report of the external data and override the action
And those are
context
your
with this.
actions.
And now,
Okay.
right, and now I'm adding custom actions to interact with that data.
And
So
you can make new ones.
absolutely. Same thing. Yeah, you get
Cool.
all the benefits of an entity from a context and menu and action
Yeah,
visibility
but
rule
you get to use
concept.
an external system of record.
Right, exactly.
All right. Good shit, man. Excuse my French.
No worries. Anything else?
No, I'm sure a lot of stuff, but that was all really
Okay.
helpful. But,
Yeah, I would not put a define. I don't think we prevent you, but you should not put a defined type from a external database object into like one of your custom types.
okay.
It's rife for things to get weird.
Is that what I
It's like,
remember he bitching about with one of our partners doing on a project
not sure.
without naming?
Yeah, not sure.
Yeah.
Specifically, it's just I wouldn't do it. That's like Will's
Okay.
best practice recommendation.
Bad practice. Gotcha. Cool.
Okay. All right, man.
Thanks, man.
You bet. All right, and then Annie, here we go. Question regarding run flows for list. How do you have two or more paths in run flow for list? I create a step that has two endpoints and it errors out. Ah, okay. Yeah, I see. So you have a run flow for list step and you want like maybe let's talk about what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Because that sounds expected, what you put in the note.
Yeah, so in the run flow for list, I have like a choose table.
Okay.
And then basically I'm trying to see if like the input was matching, like trying to find like the match input like in the choose table.
Okay.
And then for all the ones that can't find, it was just like like I have like a placeholder for like all the ones that cannot be found. And
Okay.
then so for those, I have a check saying that hey, if like if the items cannot be found, I just put you into like a different pass to like a decline or like reject pass, and then the other ones go through like approved or like accepted pass. And then that's kind of give me the erroring out because saying some of like it just said that it was erroring out because I was passing like an empty.
Yeah. It shouldn't even let you add an end step to that flow. Let's create a flow here really quick.
It can, but then like in the outside, like the outer flow, it's not showing like the outside.
Yeah, it definitely the designer, it should prevent you from adding the end step at all. I think that's part of our problem here. So here's run flows for list. I'm gonna fetch some accounts, right? And I'm gonna pass the accounts into my run flow for list step, and I'm gonna set this to async and wait, and I'm gonna pass in my accounts.
Like, what is async and wait supposed to mean?
Yeah, so async and wait lets you fire off like 4 flows simultaneously in the back end. So it's a way for you to, honestly, like you don't really need to use this step if it's synchronous. This is effectively equivalent to like a for each step, or it's just looping through your collection. The idea here for this step is you want to do work in parallel because there's, maybe each record takes you 200 milliseconds and you want to do 4, 6, or 8, how many ever logic checks in parallel. Async and wait lets you pass in a collection. This step goes into the back end, spawns a bunch of different queues, and then starts working all the items in those queues. And then this step waits for those queues to complete, at which point it moves down the done path. Some of these other behaviors, which we have documentation for, they don't wait. The flow won't pause and wait. It will fire off a bunch of queue work, a bunch of background processing, and then immediately move on.
Got it. Yeah, because I use like synchronous and I was having the issues, but the other ones I'm not quite sure like which one should I pick?
Are
for,
you, do you need to do like work in parallel?
It would be the best because I was hoping that like the decision time will be less than 2 seconds, and then
Okay.
and I have like 12 um 12 subflow, like 12 items for run flow for list.
So what you need to do, unfortunately, what you're gonna do, so like in what you've done is in this flow, you've tried to put like a error or skip in step or something here, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you won't be able to do that here. So what you'll have to do is like, now what you could do is you can control the output data type here, right?
So
So
put
you
the
could
other information is also in like the approved step.
say that again.
So is it like combine like the rejected and then the approved together?
Yeah, you're gonna want to basically, you need to have some kind of data type that has like a property on it called like decision, right? Or right, and let's say like say you have a data type here with a string property called decision. Well, then once you're done with that logic, you're gonna need to you can manage that sort of filtering after the step is over. So here, if you needed to have like, you know, approved and denied here, you could do it in the parent flow of your run flow for list step. If I can, or approved and then maybe like send for manual review or something. You can do that here. And what you might use then is like a collection filter step, like a rule collection filter step. And that way you could write a rule to only give you the approved ones or only give you the denied ones, something like that. But you won't be able to interact. You won't be able to have this flow have in its subflow. It's like special subflow here, more than one end step. And in fact,
Okay.
if we could also get a request in to prevent to have that step be filtered, the end step be filtered from the run flow for list behavior, please. Sorry, go ahead, Annie.
Oh, so in the run flow for list, just having one endpoint, but then I can combine like the two results into one data structure. And I
Yeah,
can run collection filter step to filter like the declined one out.
yeah. So let's make like here, like if I created a flow structure here called, I'll just call it, approval results, right? And this is like prop one, oops, property one, property two. These are just some properties I'm going to ignore. And then this would be like, auto approve result. And then in my flow, what I'd do is I'd come here and I'm going to set that as my type, which is result something. There you go. Did I call it result data? No. Oh God, what did I just call this thing? I just forgot. I forget it so quick. Someone remind me.
Oh, approve.
Oh, good. Let me just look. Approval result. Sorry, in and out. Approval. There's approval result. So what I would do, kind of to mimic your example, is let's say I have my truth table. So here's my truth table. I'm going to create a truth table. And then here, I'm gonna define some input data and I'll pass in the current account. That's just because that's what I'm using for my example. So here's account, right?
Yeah.
And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna check the email address. So if current account, email address, and I'll say starts with, great. And then I'll put A as my result. And then I'm going to change my output data here to string from Boolean. And then here I'll say found, right? And if it not,
Yeah.
I'll put, excuse me, I didn't mean to add all those rows. And then here I'll put not found. And then what I can do is run my truth table, right? And what I'm going to do on my end step, I have my approval result type. I'm just going to do build data, right?
Mhm.
So auto approve result, I'm going to get from my truth table. So select from flow. And here's my truth table result. Hold on. I'm going to change this. I'm going to go to advanced and say, not return the first match only, because this truth table only has a single result. Let me map this in really quick as well, which is an input. And then here, I'm going to find truth table result as that thing. And I'll just do prop one, I'll just steal the email address from my account. Right, and then we save this, and let's try I'm just gonna run this really quick, just so we can see what this looks like. Do I have everything mapped in? I'm gonna say ignore. Let's see if this runs. Okay, great. So we look at my output data, right? So now you can see this is the output. I passed the email address into that property. So I'm like getting some information from the input, the object I pass in my output type. And then I'm calculating a specific property, right? Just doing like a lookup with my truth table. And you can see I have one. Based on my rule, I found one found result. So then what I could do is I'm only going to process, or I'm only going to send downstream the approved, the found results, right? In this kind of silly example. And a rule collection filter will let me do that. So here, what I'm going to do is select the result list, which is the output of my run flow for list. I can see that here under outputs, which is up here, result list. And this is a step that'll let me remove things from a collection. And so here I'm going to edit this rule, and then this thing gives me an entity. Type string is not right. Bear with me just a second. Let's see, output, let me save and close, make sure this gets updated. Sorry. Let me try that again. Edit rule. Here we go. There's an entity. You'll notice there's the whole list, but this is like an iteration step. It's going to give me a thing which is an entity, and it's going to loop through the whole collection for me. And it's going to run this rule against each item. And if the rule is true, that item will be included in the output. And if the rule is false, it will not be included. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to check the auto approve result, and I'm going to say if it equals found. Okay, and then save. And so if I run this again, now what happens, if I look at my input and output data on this step, let me make this a little larger, is all those results come in and only that result comes out. And now you have that. And so you could do two of these in a row, one looking for found, one looking for not found, or whatever. And now you have separate collections that you can then pass downstream to do whatever you might need to do.
Got it.
Hopefully that wasn't too
well, it's super helpful because I don't remember there's like a run collection step, like filter step. That would be super helpful. Yeah, thanks, Will.
Yeah, you bet. Hope that helps. All right, VT. Is there a reason why I can't reset a password for one account but not the other? Both are just native decisions accounts. I would check its type in the database. Let me just use a query editor. You can set an account to not be was it ever like a single sign-on account or anything? Vitaly, I'll let you talk here.
Hey, Will.
Hey.
I'm gonna check on that, but I do believe they are both just decisions accounts, never set to be single sign-on.
What I would do is check authentication type, identity, provider, ID, and user identifier, I think. Do I have any of those typed in wrong? No. What I would do is I'll just put this in the chat if you want to copy it out. But I would pick an account that works, right? And pick an account that doesn't work and see if any of these properties are different for the account that you can't seem to reset the password on.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you bet. All right, and Chris has got another question. Go ahead. What do you got? SDK question. I'll try.
Yeah. So if you're creating just a simple custom well, maybe not simple, but a custom DLL, and you have to use some other NuGet, some dependencies, like some other packages off of NuGet, some libraries.
Yeah.
In order to build that DLL. Now, is there a place now you need to pull those libraries into decisions as well?
Yeah. And
Okay.
that path is going to be, one second, let me get here on my
And
local.
I don't think I saw that. I don't think it's in the documentation. Are there any kind of notes, internal notes you can share about that? Or
yeah, of course.
Because I'm not going to get it, because even if you do it here, I mean, I'm not going to remember it all.
Yeah, I think Will, that's a
And I
doc
don't need to
ticket
do it
for sure.
immediately. I don't need to do it immediately, but it's just something I ran into. I couldn't get the thing to work, and then looking at the debug, it looked like because the libraries weren't there. And then somewhere I noticed that it, again, I don't know what's happening under the hood and what's required in order to make something like that work.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head where they're supposed to go, but there should be. And I don't know anymore where they're supposed to go, but there's like if I look inside, there's core service DLLs, then external service reference or custom references. There's like a custom references directory.
And I wouldn't even be sure what to put in there, but it mostly you've answered my question. I don't need to keep trying to do it the way I'm doing it because it ain't going to work. If there's internal documentations or notes on that, I'd love to see them.
Yeah, we should get those. We should get those published. So,
yeah.
Will, if you could follow up, I don't know if we have
urgent for me.
If we have any internal docs or not, but that's something that you could just ask like Jason or Derek in support dev about and get a doc ticket in for. We should have a document about how to reference third-party libraries in your custom step or your custom assembly. So adding to the product here, right? Flow and rule steps. Yeah, data sources and reports. Building a module, integrations.
And actually, some of the stuff sort of spread out between topics in there. It's kind of weird how some of it's spread out, but
yeah, we can get that clarified for you. I'm assuming Will's he's listening. He's on mute. So I'm assuming he hears me. Yes, he's typing instead of replying. There you go. There it is. Love to see it.
Yes, I hear you.
Yeah, I think Jason or Derek can answer that pretty easily. That's probably a very simple SDK doc to add.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get that done and then shoot the link over to you, Chris. Easy.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, man.
You bet.
Let's go to the Village Inn soon.
Yeah, I was thinking about you the other day. We should go get some breakfast.
Yeah, this week's bad. Next week's bad, but
yeah, tell me about it. Yeah, we got bored this week, so I'm trekking up to DC again. So living the dream, baby.
You don't have anyone in there to get freaking car sick.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else got anything? All right. Vitaly says I put them in either the same folder or bin. Okay. Yeah, that probably works too. But we should check to see if there's a best practice way from the dev team.
Clever. Okay, cool. Thanks.
All right. Anybody else got anything? Okay. All right, thanks everybody. Have a great afternoon. And Jared will be here tomorrow and Ethan on Thursday. See ya.